Hi, and thank you for tuning in to the Daily Dose for Spiritual Growth. I'm excited to start a brand new week. Now, if you were at Shrewsbury Assembly yesterday, or if you happened to watch the service online, you know that I actually spoke about the story from Daniel chapter 3. We're currently in a series on the life of Daniel. And with that, we talked about a very familiar story of the three men that went into the fiery furnace. Now, something that I challenged all of us was this idea of, where does your faith lie? Do you have an even if faith, like the men that went into that furnace, or do you have an only if faith? What do I mean? Well, when you think of your faith in God, do you believe in God? Do you trust God even if He doesn't do what you want? Or do you trust in God only if He does A, B, C, D, or whatever it is that you're asking of Him? You know, this is challenging thoughts, and I know that as we look to the Word of God, people struggled with the same concept as they grew in their faith, just like we are today. And so this week, I thought it would be cool if we took a couple biblical examples of other people and discovered if they were even if faith people or only if faith people. Now, with that in mind, I recognize that not everybody maybe was able to be at the service yesterday, and so I thought today we would talk about Daniel chapter 3. Just to give you a really quick recap, Daniel 3 starts off with King Nebuchadnezzar building this huge golden image. Now, scholars don't know if it was an image of himself or a different god or what exactly it was, but it was a statue, so we can assume it was in the form of a person or an animal. And he required everybody, no matter who you were, from the greatest to the least, he required that everyone at a specific time every day would bow down and worship this image. Well, the people, being under King Nebuchadnezzar's rule, knew him. This man was kind of off the rails. He would go into a rage without warning. He was power hungry. And so when the time came, that first time, everybody knelt down except for three men. And word came back to King Nebuchadnezzar in chapter 3 by some of his Chaldeans, which were sorcerers, magicians, enchanters. They came and tattled on these three men. Their names were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he said, "Hey, king, you know that decree that you made to everyone in the land? You know how you said everyone must follow it or you will throw them into a fiery furnace?" Okay, yeah, I remember that. Well, did you know that there's three Israelite men who did not bow down? Now, as you could imagine, the king was very angry. He called for them immediately. He said, "Surely you bowed down. Let me do it again. We'll have the music play again, and then I'll give you a second chance. You can bow down." And again, the men refused. And this enraged the king. And I want to pick up the story there in Daniel chapter 3, beginning in verse, let me see what I got here. Beginning in verse 16. Listen to their response. We were so challenged by this. Yesterday when we talked about it, I'm challenged by it every time I read it. Listen to what it says in case you're not familiar. This is how these men responded in the face of death when King Nebuchadnezzar required them to bow down to a god other than the one true God that they served. It says in verse 16 of chapter 3, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied, "O Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you." Okay, I feel that, right? If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God whom we serve is able to save us. He will rescue us from your power, your majesty. Now listen to verse 18. But even if he doesn't, we want to make it clear to you, your majesty, that we will never serve your gods or worship the gold statue that you have set up. This is so challenging. This faith is so pure and so powerful as they say, "Hey, we know that our God is able. We trust him. We put our lives in his hand. We know that if you throw us into that furnace, that he can defend us, that he can rescue us. We're fully confident." However, even if he doesn't, even if he doesn't show up the way we want, even if he doesn't rescue us and save our lives, even if whatever the case may be, even if he doesn't, we want you to know we're not giving up faith. We're not going to turn to some other God. We're not going to throw in the towel. No, our faith is in God alone. Now let yourself be challenged by those words as I have been challenged. When you're in the face of persecution or danger or ridicule or people threatening maybe your job or your position or your power or your authority or whatever it may be for your faith, what do you do? Are you willing, like these three men, to say, no matter what, I will not walk away from my God. No matter what, I will not turn my back on my God. He is my God, and I trust him. This is what we're going to be talking about this week. And so I encourage you, if you haven't recently read through Daniel chapter 3, it is such a good chapter. Go for it and dive in again. If you were with us yesterday, take some time and read through it slowly and really be challenged by their faith. And then begin to ponder with the Lord, where is my faith at? Maybe reflect on different circumstances or situations you've been in before, and how did you respond when there was pressure put on you to maybe abandon your faith, maybe lower your standards, maybe change your beliefs? How did you respond? This week, let's strive to prayerfully pursue God, that we would have an even if faith, not an only if. Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I hope to see you again tomorrow for another daily dose for spiritual growth.